So we're going to go ahead and get started. Robert Hedblum is our presenter today, and I'm going to let him go ahead and introduce himself, and we'll get started. And also, just to let you guys know, I am recording this, and we'll post the link to the recording and the deck shortly after we're done presenting today. So Robert, if you are ready to get started, he's going to present on Backup That Really Works using multiple members and functions of the System Center 2012 SP1 family.
Thank you, Kara, for that introduction, and good morning or good evening, everyone that are connecting, depending on where in the world you are connecting from. My name is Robert Hedblum, and I am an MVP for System Center Cloud and Data Center Management. I would like to present to you a way of using multiple members and family members of the System Center family to achieve something like backup as a service. This session is divided into 4 different parts. First one, we're going to discuss backup as a service. Secondly, we're going to talk about DPM. We're going to talk about SCOM, and we're going to finish it up with a little bit of orchestrator. So let's get started. Probably many of you guys have seen this slide before. What I would like to focus on for this session is the infrastructure management part, where we will find the key feature that is DPM, or Data Protection Manager. So, backup as a service. If you're a service provider or a hoster, or you would like in your organization or company to provide backup as a service to your end users or customers, you can achieve this quite easily by interacting with different System Center family members to provide that service. In this presentation, I will focus on 3 of those. The first one is Data Protection Manager, the key function, the way of doing backup, recovery, disaster recoveries, etc., in your Microsoft environment. Secondly, we're going to have a look at Operations Manager. We're going to look at some new features that was released in the 2012 version, that is the centralized console for DPM. And we also gonna have a look at Orchestrator, how to automate those workflows, how to identify the processes, and so forth. If you would like to provide backup as a service, those 3 components are the core. The presentation for the customers or end users, that is made through Service Manager. And what I would like to do now is start out by have a look at DPM. So, on the left-hand side of the presentation, you'll see the workloads that we can protect with DPM. We have the Exchange, the SQL, the SharePoint, Dynamics, the Virtual Hyper-V, Windows Server, Active Directory, and System States. We also can do protection of Windows clients. The first thing you do when you install your DPM server is that you attach a DPM disk pool. The DPM disk pool could be a SAN, NAS, DAS, or local disk. The most important part is for you guys to know that you can't use removable storage like USB or IEEE. It must be presented to the operating system that hosts the DPM server as local attached storage. Next up, you will start off by deploying DPM agents to your production environment, to your Exchange server, to your SQL server, and so on and so forth. One key feature or function that gives DPM a very good benefit is that the DPM agent is the same binary that is installed on the Exchange server or SQL server. Third-party software are using different versions and different types that gives you perhaps a hard time doing upgrades and keep that agent communication consistent and so on. The first thing that happens is you create a protection group within the DPM server. And I'll also show you this, how to create the protection group, and give you a thorough demo of it. What happened is you create something called a replica. A replica is the only full backup you will ever do of your production data. The technology that we're using is Volume Shadow Copy Services, or VSS. That is actually a coordinator in the operating system using underlying technologies as VSS requester, VSS providers, and VSS writers. This gives you the ability to take online snapshot of your production data, meaning that the backup windows are more or less eliminated. What happens next is the replica is created by something called the volume in the DPM disk pool that is associated with the data source, let's say the Exchange mailbox database. Next up is the change tracking process that the DPM agent is doing on the production server environment. The DPM agents are using underlying technologies within the operating system, like the volume filter and the DPM filter and volume mapping, to identify the block level changes that the VSSs can identify on the block on the disk, and synchronize those block level changes from your production environment to the DPM server and put them in the DPM disk pool in something we call a recovery point volume. So this means actually that DPM is a continuous data protection solution that only synchronizes differential data based on a full backup. Within that protection group you are creating, that is actually a backup schedule where you create something called Express Full Backup. An Express Full Backup is a combination of technologies, meaning synchronization and consistency checks and so on and so forth, and that gives you the ability to create recovery points of your production environment. For the archiving purposes, you can put your protected data onto tape. That is something we call tape-based backup. DPM is compatible with most of the hardware vendors on the market today. DPM will use standard SCSI communication, meaning that if you have your library and your tape drives available and looking good in the device manager, it will work with DPM. If you would like to try it out, there is a test tool you can download from TechNet. You can do multiple tests to verify that you have had 100% functionality in your tape library. This is the baseline of a DPM server setup for a data center, but there's actually a second layer that you could put in. That is a secondary DPM server, or a disaster recovery. The secondary DPM server will base its backup schedule on the primary DPM server. Well, let's say we have the scenario that your organization has a recovery point objective, or RPO, meaning that your SQL server can't be missing backups because the primary DPM server has gone down. You can then go to the secondary DPM server and say, hey, I want to promote you to a primary DPM server for my SQL workloads. And then you can continue to do backup for your production environment, even if the primary DPM server is dead. The second part, or the last part, is backup to Azure. This is a cool, great new feature from Microsoft that I really want to emphasize the great possibilities for you guys to put your backup up in the cloud or Azure. There are some things that you should know with Azure. It's in preview now. You can only attach it to your primary DPM server. You can do 2 recovery points a day. you need a subscription in Azure. You also need a certificate. But in those scenarios where you have one DPM server, is a very good solution to put up the DPM database that is locally on the DPM server into the cloud for protection. All configuration made in DPM regarding agents, regarding backup schedules in your protection groups are stored in a local database or remote database called DPMDB. It's very important to keep track of that database. If you lose it, you have to rebuild everything from scratch. So putting DPMDB in Azure, if you only have one DPM server, is a very good solution for you guys to work with. So I would now like to show you some demo of DPM and walk you through the console. So before we start, instead of showing you a demo environment with one protection group, this is actually a live environment, and the customer has agreed on me to present this to you, so you'll see a real live scenario of how you can implement DPM, SCOM, and orchestrate to create backup as a service, or the core function for backup as a service. So a big thank you to the municipality of Helsingborg in Sweden. So DPM, it consists of 5 different parts. The first one is monitoring. And for you guys who are new to DPM, here's where you get a good glance of what jobs are in progress, what job has critical alerts, warning, or informational alerts, so you keep track of what is actually going on in your production environment. Secondly, we have protection. The protection part consists all of your protection group that holds the backup schedule, and when you create a new protection group, it's quite easy. You pop up in the left corner, you click New. Here you can choose to protect server or client, meaning Windows clients, like XP, Vista, Windows 7, and Windows 8. And the protection for Windows 8 is possible within the Service Pack 1 release from System Center. We go with the servers. And as you see here, DPM will also list if you have different clusters. So DPM is cluster aware, meaning that if you have a cluster in your environment, you install a DPM agent on it, it will read the Microsoft clustering services and understand what other nodes are present in that cluster and provide you with that information. This gives you a good glance or good understanding of what service you need to install more DPM agents to. So what we'll do is we pick a server that we have an agent installed to. Many of you guys may be wondering why the hourglass is standing here. So what is actually happening now is a VSS request, meaning that the DPM agent is doing a VSS request on the server, listing all the VSSs on that operating system, provide that to DPM, and give you, as the DPM administrator, the ability to check or uncheck or mark whatever data source you would like to protect. In this example, I would like to take this temporary catalog. If you start to protect a file structure or a catalog structure or a volume on a server in DPM, DPM will provide you with the information saying that, hey, if you would be able to do the restore and do the access controllers restore for the rights of the security groups and so on and so forth, don't forget to protect the system state also. So click OK. naming of the protection group is very important in the DPM design. As you can see in the background, the approach we're using is an easy way of classifying the data. We're using bronze, gold, silver classes and define the data from there. We know if it's bronze file data or SQL or gold Active Directory data. We know how many recovery points we're doing per day or per week. And also, if we're doing synchronizations, we also know the synchronization frequency within the protection group name. So let's say we got gold data. We're going to do 1 recovery point per day. And we're also going to do a 12-hour synchronization of it. On the select data protection method view, you have the ability to choose if you want to use long-term recovery goals, meaning tape. You can also choose here to go to Azure to put that protection data in Azure. We go with the disk now. So the retention range is for how many days would you like that protected data to be stored on the disk pool in the DPM, on the DPM server. Let's say we'll have it stored 14 days, and we will have 12-hour synchronization. And we will do a recovery point 8 a.m. On the review disk allocation part, you have a quite good feature actually, the modify button. What you can do here is you can do a calculate, because I only protected a temporary catalog, and DPM is reading in the change journal and do a calculation of how much storage do I need. What we can do is recalculate that. When we recalculate it, DPM will give us a more exact number of the space we need. So instead of 120, we'll go with 60 gigabytes. When we're protecting files, we have a shadow copy storage area that we are using when we're doing the snapshot on the operating systems. By default, it's 300 megabytes. What you can do here now is increase that. Let's say you want to do 1,500 megabytes in storage. Before we click next, this checkbox automatically grows the volumes, meaning that in those cases, the DPM volumes will go full. DPM will automatically grow the volume for you. There is a latency, and it's good for you to keep track of the alerts that is populated from DPM regarding the volumes in DPM. The replica, as I mentioned in the presentation of DPM, the replica is the only full backup we will ever do in DPM. All block level changes that are identified on the production environment by the DPM agent using underlying technologies, volume mapping, DPM filter, and so on and so forth, are synchronized to the DPM server. Just those block level changes to the recovery point volume. So the replica, what you can do is, let's say you have the scenario where you have a poor WAN link. Instead of putting the replica over that WAN link on production hours, you can schedule it to go in the evening. So this is 8 p.m. Or you can do it manually, meaning that you will copy the data to media of some sort and ship it over to the DPM server side and copy it into the replica volume in the DPM server. To get the backup schedule up and running, you have to do a consistency check of that data source. When that has finished, you're good to go. Then the DPM server will only change the block level changes on the production environment and synchronize it to the DPM server. In this scenario, we'll do the creation now. If a replica becomes inconsistent, DPM can do automatically consistency check of that replica, meaning that you will know that DPM will take care of the alerts himself. This works quite good actually. In the scenario where you create a backup as a service, SCOM and Orchestrator will interact and fix the replica more quicker than DPM itself. And this is also one thing that I would like to demo for you guys. So when it's done, we click Create Group, and then we do the replica creation, synchronize all the full backup, and put that in the replica volume. And then we're going to keep on doing the block level changes, identification, and production environment, put that in the recovery point volume. So next, the recovery part, the meaning of why we're doing backup. What you can do here is use the search functionality. Let's say for this customer, they have a lot of data on a lot of servers, approximately 600 different servers, on like 15 different clusters. What you can do is you can do searches within the production data, in the protected production data. Now I didn't have anything to start with wildcard. You can search it up and you will be presented what you can restore, and just do the recovery wizard. And the recovery wizard for a protected data source is very easy. The purpose of DPM is not for you guys to be a super DBA or a SQL guru or whatever. Since DPM is developed side by side with the production groups on different teams, like in this case, DPM has a defined manifest from the SQL production group saying how DPM should do recovery, how DPM should do backups and disaster recovery of that workload. So relying on that manifest, DPM knows how to do the restore. And what you will do is you can choose to recover the SQL database to the original instance. You can do it to any instance of the SQL server, copy it to network folder, and so on and so forth. For SQL, you can leave the database operational or you can leave it non-operational. If you had transactional logs, you can also recover the transactional logs and let the DBAs play in the transactional logs in the database to the exact moment in time where they wanted the recovery to occur. The reporting part. Well, DPM has 6 different reports: disk utilization, recovery, recovery point status, overall status, tape management, and tape utilization. Those 6 reports give you a good understanding of what is going on in my environment or in my DPM environment. You can have those report emailed to you within a special schedule. And one important thing to remember is that within the database that holds the report, you can have 18 versions. The management part is 4 different sections. First off is the agents. One cool thing about the agent side is you can easily do something called throttling. And throttling mean that you do within specific business hours, you will say that the DPM agent will only have 128 kilobytes of my bandwidth. So if you have a poor WAN link, you can be sure that the DPM server or the backup solution is not using all that bandwidth. So it's quite easy to configure. So the disk part, as mentioned earlier, you must have disk that is presented to the DPM server operating system as local attached storage. You can't use removable disks like USB or IEEE. DPM does not care if you are using a RAID 5 or a RAID 10, but please notice that within your design, if you have an RTO, recovery time objective, that is very low, it's important that you have a good disk I/O. DPM is a very efficient and optimized product for protecting your Microsoft environment. The change tracking is super fast. You'll have recovery times that are great. So to get more out of the product, use a good RAID subset if you have a low number in your RTO. So that's a quick presentation of DPM. So let's move on. So, SCOM, the next part. What I would like to present to you is the central console that is provided in the SCOM version 2012. With a single console, you can manage up to 100 DPM servers or 50,000 protected data sources. In the scenario where you have DPM 2012 within your data center today, you can still manage the DPM 2012 versions during the upgrade of those servers. So, what the central console will actually do, it will fit right into your environment. It will give you the ability to reduce the management cost by doing centralized monitoring and manage all the DPM servers in a central console. This has been a request from the community and from the customers since the first version of DPM that was released in 2006, and I'm very excited that it's here now for us to work with. So what you can do from the centralized console is, of course, centralized monitoring. You can do remote administration from the centralized console, meaning that you don't have to do an RDP session to every DPM server in your data center. You will have the SCOM console, and you do all the administration from there. You will also have the possibility to do remote recovery from the centralized console. And if you have a help desk or different tiers in your help desk, you can use something called role-based management, meaning that the tier 1 support should only be able to do consistency checks of your data sources. The tier 2 should be able to do recovery, and tier 3 are DPM administrators. One really good thing is the scoop troubleshooting feature. Scoop troubleshooting lets you zoom in into a specific area that could be a DPM server, a disk, or a data source, and do some troubleshooting on that specific object. Many companies that are installing the centralized console are also very interested in doing SLA-based alerting, meaning that if you are missing some backup snapshots for specific exchange databases or important SQL databases, you can have an SLA violation alert populated from SCOM to the DBAs or the exchange administrators and so on and so forth. One important improvement is the consolidated alerts. The consolidated alerts will ensure that you will have only one ticket per root cause, meaning that instead of having 50 tickets, you will have one if it's the same root cause. I will show you the alert categorization. What the management pack will give you is the ability to see alerts presented that is infrastructural alerts or backup alerts. So let's go to SCOM and present the centralized console. So here's SCOM, and first off, during the beta, you could use SCOM 2007. It will not work today. The only version you should use and can use is 2012, and of course with Service Pack 1. After you have installed your management pack that are located on the DPM server media, you install the server and client features for the centralized console on the DPM servers that are your management servers. This will give you the ability to verify the two different views. First off, alert views. Here you have the backup alerts. All alerts that are associated with the backup. You can filter this and have a look of alerts affecting multiple data sources or single data sources, or you can have a glance at all the alerts. On this particular solution, we're protecting almost 500 data sources, and DPM is doing a great job protecting and recovering the data for this customer. You will also have tape backup alerts. The backup that should relate to tape that has failed, you will have that presented very nicely here. And since DPM is a super product, you don't have any errors, of course. The fun part start off with the infrastructure alerts, where you have a deep dive presentation of the data. And DPM is a super duper product once again, so no alerts. So let's go to state views. First one, the disks. Here we got 21 different disks that are attached to different DPM servers in this solution. And the first thing that I would like to demonstrate for you guys is the troubleshoot feature or the scoop troubleshooting. Let's say now that we have a problem with this disk. It's red, we need to do a troubleshooting. What we will do is we will have a great troubleshooting experience by using the DPM disk tasks. We click on the troubleshoot disks, and what is actually happening is the binders installed on the management server will give you the actual console as you were sitting on the DPM server. This actually means that you will never have to do any more RDP sessions to your DPM server for administrative purpose. Please note here, we have a context bar listing all the, or doing the filtering of the 6th disk on this DPM server. If we go to protection, we will have the data sources that are stored only on this disk and nothing else. And as you see, there's a cluster here with gold file data. Please note also that the reporting part is missing here on the DPM server, and that's due to the context that we're doing scope troubleshooting. From here, you can do recovery as you are actually sitting on a DPM server. SCOM will also provide you a great experience with management of your DPM servers. You'll have a good look of which DPM server is in maintenance mode, the version, the DPM server name. You will know if you have a tape library attached to it. You will have a good look of protection groups that are in a critical state and so on and so forth. As the same way here, if I would like to go to the server that has a critical data source here, I go to Manage DPM Server, and as before, I'm presented with a centralized console for DPM. What SCOM actually is doing is connecting to the DPM server's database, DPMDB, and by performance designs, the DPMDB is placed locally on every DPM server on a separate RAID 1+0 RAID disk subset. So on this DPM server now, we can do management. We can install agents from the DPM server. We can manage disk. We can manage reporting or monitoring and so on and so forth. The really fun part start out with the data sources. What you can do is you can filter all data sources, and this SCOM server holds 479 data sources. You can very easily see how many of those are in an unhealthy state. Everything looks good. That's how DPM works. What you could do is you can also filter the data source. For a file server, you can look for exchange data. But let's do the file system here. Let's say we want to do recovery. I don't have a clue which DPM server this data source is located on. So what I will do is I will have this data source, and I will do recover data source. What SCOM will do now is guide me to the right DPM server. It will also present to me the recovery experience within the console. So without doing anything else but clicking recover data source, I'm presented with the right data source on the right DPM server for the right data source. And from here I can choose which data I want to recover from, and I can run the recovery wizard just as if I was sitting on the DPM server itself. So this is what the centralized console, it gives you a good understanding of what is actually going on out there in your production environment. You must use the version 2012, and my recommendation is for you to use, of course, Service Pack 1. So let's go back to the presentation. So, part 4, System Center Orchestrator. As you probably are aware of, you will use Orchestrator to automate different scenarios and use Orchestrator to do things automatically for you within your data center. You do this by designing runbooks. You can install Orchestrator in many different manners. What I would like to present to you is an easy way of interacting Orchestrator with DPM and SCOM. and use the power of the different three System Center family members. So let's go back to the servers. And let's go to the orchestrator servers. So, here we go. So let's do this just at a brief. What I have done here is I have important integration packs for DPM and Operations Manager. I have also created a runbook that are looking at specific alerts presented in SCOM from DPM. So I would like to do a walkthrough of how we have done this. So first off, you need to do two things. You need to make a configuration to the DPM server so Orchestrator can communicate with it. Please bear in mind that Orchestrator is a 32-bit system, so when you're doing your PowerShell configuration, you must use the 32-bit version of the PowerShell on the DPM server. Also, for Operations Manager, what you do on the Orchestrator server is you install the actual console on the Orchestrator server, and Orchestrator will interact with the binaries that are provided with the console installation, and you can start off then and playing around with Orchestrator and SCOM and DPM. The first thing that we're doing in the runbook is we monitor alert. We will check for resolution states that are new. We will also verify the monitoring object health state that are critical. We will look at a specific name provided by the data provided by the SCOM alerts. In this case, we're looking for recovery point creation failure. We'll also use the net bias computer name, specifying which DPM server we are monitoring. If we find error in the SCOM console that is populated from the specific DPM server, the runbook kicks in and it will start off by doing an update of the alert saying that System Center Orchestrator is working. So the DPM administrators will know that, okay, I don't have to bother. Orchestrator will take it from here and do the troubleshooting for me and try to solve the inconsistency of the data source. Next, we'll do a run DPM PowerShell script activity, meaning that we will execute a PowerShell script that will go out and verify the data sources. It will kick in and do a consistency check of the data sources and try to solve any inconsistencies. If that fails, it will update the alert saying that, okay, System Center Orchestrator failed to fix the data source. Then the DPM administrators know that they need to kick in and do something manually, start troubleshooting. If everything goes right, we update the alert saying that System Center Orchestrator has fixed the data sources. And as you notice here, the resolution states, I have got some questions to my blog regarding how to define resolution states. And what we are actually doing here is taking the identifier from monitoring alert activity, and we're using resolution states that we have defined in SCOM. And I will give you a quick look of where you do that. If you go to administration and settings. You go to security. Alerts. Here you can define your own resolution state. So this actually means that you can populate information via orchestrated back to the SCOM console, saying that I'm trying to do this for you. Lean back, enjoy the ride. I will probably fix it for you also. If I don't do it, I'll update the alert saying that, okay, I need some kind of assistance. So let's go back to the presentation. That was a demonstration of DPM, and SCOM, and Orchestrator, and how you can work with those three different components or family members of the System Center, so you can create a core function providing backup as a service. You use DPM as the core function. You will monitor and administrate your DPM servers via SCOM, the centralized console. You will use Orchestrator to automate troubleshooting in your DPM or in your backup solution. I have some further information for you guys. If you're interested in DPM, there will be a DPM book released probably in June regarding 2012 Service Pack 1 version. There is also a training available on a global scale, and I'm trying to do as much blogging as possible regarding DPM, SCOM, and Orchestrator. And feel free to send me an email. I'll try to respond to it ASAP, of course. So if there is any questions, I would like to listen to them. So feel free to use the chat.
I have a question, Guido van Bakel here from the Netherlands. We have over 800 VMs split up in 5 protection groups, and we are using the DPM VMM helper servers, and we have the issue that every day the DPM VMM helper service seems to be unresponsive and crashes, and that stops all of our backups, and we have to reschedule the backup then again. And we are working now on it for several months, but I don't have seen a fix anywhere. I also opened the topic on the TechNet forums, but I didn't get a response, so I thought I'd try it here.
Yeah. If there's if you have opened a thread in the TechNet forum, I will absolutely have a look at it and provide you with some information. Of course.
Okay. Because it's quite annoying that you have to restart the backup again and again, and all the time the DPM VMM helper service seems to be crashing or unresponsive or.
Okay. So one thing that's important when you're designing DPM is how you first off place your DPM DB. What you can run into is if you have an enterprise design of your DPM solution, it's a very good thing to put the DPM DB on RAID 1 plus or a RAID 10, so you don't get latency in the DPM's database. Also, bear in mind the number of backup jobs and synchronizations and so on and so forth that you're doing every day. What is actually happening, every backup job or synchronization job that runs is a SQL job. So if you have a large number, like several thousands of backup jobs, is a good thing that perhaps split them to multiple DPM servers. Are you using SCOM today so you can monitor your DPM server and your production environment, Guido?
Yeah, we are using SCOM 2007 R2, but I don't have the main spec working properly at the moment.
Okay.
So I have to fix that.
That could be a good start.
But we do have meals set up in DPM, so I get a meal for every backup that fails.
Okay. So on the presentation now, you see my email, robert.deblon@gmail.com. Feel free to send me an email with that link to the TechNet forum, and we will take it from there, Guido, and try to absolutely solve the problem.
Okay, thanks a lot.
No problem. My pleasure. If there is any other questions, I will happily try to answer them.
Okay, it doesn't sound like there's any more questions, and I just want to thank Robert for the great presentation that he gave today. And if you guys do have any further questions after we're done with the call, Robert, again, has provided his email and his phone number in this final slide, and you can reach out to him directly. So Robert, thank you very much for your time and your presentation today, and we hope to see everyone next week. Just a reminder, next week's presentation will be held on Thursday due to the MVP Summit that's taking place in Redmond next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So if there's anything else or nothing else, I guess we will end the call.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.